Wisconsin toe jam because Mr. Renner suffered a very inauspicious debut. Welcome to Vikings Tonight, where one of our co-hosts applied an offensively tasteful sleeper hold, so to speak, on the Pack's line of defense. It was a full Nelson not to be reckoned with. Also this evening, we're back to the future with tailgating. A look at what Sunday used to be like, BD, before the Dome.
Vikings Tonight is brought to you in part by U.S. West Direct, publisher of the Yellow Pages, and by Midwest Federal, your good tree to come to for shelter since 1891.
I'm Mark Rosen, and welcome to the Vikings Tonight, which this evening includes a brief language lesson. Déjà vu is French for already seen. Did you get that feeling today watching the Packers' punting problems and thinking, haven't I seen this before? Not so long ago and far away, the kicking shoe was on the other foot. Coleman was out. Cleveland was in, like Flint. Today, the tide or toe changed. Bill Renner's first NFL punt suffered an abrupt end, courtesy of Ike Holt.
They had a new punter, and the other one was injured, and I looked around and blocked one last time we played them, and I was kind of anxious to get on the punt return unit this week. You know, we was working very hard for that.
The miscue led to a touchdown. No one said punting the pigskin is easy. However, soon after, Renner never got that chance. The snap sailed over his head, setting up yet another Viking 6.
You know, you lose your punter, and you feel like that you can still go on and play. And of course, we knew they'd come after Bill, but really that wasn't it. We just didn't block well again.
The Vikings frustrated the Pack's attack, bringing to mind words of wisdom from a veteran sage.
You know, we were bending quite a bit today, but as the old saying is, we didn't break. And I think that hurt them more than it hurt us. You know, we gave them a lot, but then we took it away from them right at the end.
They dished it out on defense as well as offense.
And we had opportunity to score, move the ball all over the field, 369 yards, booming day, total offense, and 6 points. And that just won't get it.
That's right, Forrest. It just won't get it. Last week, Greg Coleman, in discussing the week's game against Green Bay, you said perhaps the kicking game would decide it. Rather prophetic last week. It looked like the shoe was on the other foot, if you pardon the pun, this week.
Well, I think the special teams set the tempo for the game. We knew that. We knew, you know, as far as mentioned, that they had a new punter coming in, and we're going to go after him. You know, Tom Batta, you know, explicitly told these guys, hey, go for him, but don't rough him. And Ike, you know, he started it off. He set the tempo with the, you know, Ike is becoming a big play man. You know, he's an impact player. You know, hopefully he'll make a Pro Bowl because he, you know, he's leading with interceptions, 2 or 3 block kicks. He's always in the right place at the right time.
Scott, the Vikings defense did not give up a touchdown today. Yet on the way home, the plane trip back, Floyd Peters, defensive coordinator, was none too happy about the way you guys tackled, for instance. Would you agree with that assessment of the way the overall defense played today?
I think that it certainly has some merit. I don't think we played that well. Obviously, we only gave up 6 points. But for the most part, as Doug Martin said, we gave up a lot of yards. We gave up, I think, 350 or 360 yards, and we did not tackle well. We probably missed as many tackles today as we have the last 4 or 5 weeks combined. So from that standpoint, it's a little disturbing. But I think the best thing that we did today is we stopped them in critical situations, 4th and short, 3rd and short, and we didn't give them any real big plays. And from that standpoint, you have to be happy with our effort. But overall, it was not a real good day defensively.
Offensively, the Vikings called the number 20 often today, and he responded with a tremendous afternoon. And Darren was all everything against the Packers, rushing for 8 times for 71 yards and catching 5 passes for 67 more. A total of 138 yards of offense for Darren. We've seen a few of those plays already. You and Ken Stills had some fun times in the afternoon out there, Darren. Like to be used the way you were today, obviously, in that position?
Well, that's basically the way I'm used to being used. When I was in college, it was basically the same kind of offense. I'd run the ball about 13 times a game and catch about 5 or 6 passes. So it's something that I've grown accustomed to over the years.
You mentioned it was an emotional game. The Packers came out and played very emotional football, this coming after their win on Thanksgiving against Detroit. A lot of post-play talking, finger-pointing. What was the story out there today?
Well, I don't know about the rest of the guys, but me and Mr. Steele had a little battle going on most of the day. And hopefully I won.
I think you
Although
did.
he did knock me in the next week in the first series. But after that, I think I got him pretty good.
No, he's not a big guy. What does he go, about 160, 170?
Well, I think that's the main reason why we do things like this. You know, he's not very big, so he's kind of looking to gain some kind of edge on me, and I'm not very big either, so I'm looking for somebody that I can possibly try to run over. And luckily, we just happen to play against each other.
Well, Darren, you were a marked man from the opening play, but the Packers could do very little in trying to contain you. Kramer was back, of course, after missing 2 games. He isolated you on a linebacker quite a bit. I'm sure that's the idea here.
Yes, isolation. I was just supposed to outrun him, and I did, but I didn't see Stills there. But luckily, I came out on the top end of that, and, you know, I had to get my little say in there.
Looks like you did. Tommy, in this first drive, never saw Mark Lee here. Perhaps the defense was a little different than expected. The Packers took over on downs.
Well, I don't think he saw Mark either because it looked like he came from out of bounds and stepped in and caught this ball here, you know, because, you know, Steve was going in the corner and he looked wide open. Mark Lee just happened to show up and took the ball. Didn't
take long. It looks like no one touched him here, though, Greg.
No, it's a difficult block. You put the outside guy in a real tough bind. He's responsible for blocking 2 guys. You blocked the inside guy and never touched Ike. And as a result, it was a big play for us to get us started on the right track.
Short drives for the Vikings. First play on the draw. Here's one for the highlight reel, Darren.
Well, yeah, we had 2 one-play drives in the second quarter, and here's one we just ran a draw play and got into the open field and made it to the end zone.
Extra point was no good. The Vikings led 6-3. The next series, the Packers forced to try to punt again, and here's where the center had the jitters, I think, anticipating the rush.
Well, you know, the centers tend to want to snap the ball a little bit harder, you know, to give his punter some extra time, you know, and I think that was going through his mind. I'm sure Bill was looking around to see what was going on. You know, we just kept the heat on him on special teams.
They went for the juggler again, another one of those one-play drives, Darren.
Yeah, this is that pass over the middle that we always seem to complete at least once a game. The AC is a quick slant pattern, and the AC caught it, and touchdown, another one-play drive.
13-3 at this point. Is it hard to get a fix, Scott, for instance, on how well you're playing because of this turnover situation, and bam, the offense gets out there and does score a touchdown? You were saying the defense didn't play that well. You weren't on the field that much at that point.
We weren't, but at the same time, the Packers were moving the ball, which I think disturbed us a little bit. And we were in a situation where obviously we didn't play as well as we figured we could have. And they got, as we said earlier, they got a lot of yards on us, but they didn't get a lot of points. And obviously that's the most important part of it. But they were moving the football on us, and primarily because we missed so many tackles. And it was we didn't play that well. And I think maybe we came down to their level a little bit. And not to take anything away from the Packers, but we didn't play the kind of football that I think we're capable of playing.
At least it showed up on the scoreboard. Tommy Kramer had 6 touchdown passes against the Packers in their first game in September. Kramer, of course, was just happy to be back in the lineup today after missing 2 games with an injured thumb.
Oh, it gave me a little trouble a couple of times. I wasn't throwing the ball with as much zip as I usually do, but it was enough to get the job done. It wasn't first half wasn't the best offensive performance we've had, but we came back in the second half and we were able to run the football.
Towsley Ford brings you our biggest truck sale ever. While other dealers may have little to choose from, Towsley has over 400 trucks available. A special purchase from Ford of new 86s and 87s, many with free factory air, and most with Ford Motor Company discounts as high as $1,200. Plus year-end savings from Towsley, 50 Bronco 2s, 40 vans and van conversions, 60 Aerostars, 90 Rangers, 150 F-Series trucks, including 50 Super Cabs. No matter where you live in the Northland, it's worth a trip to Towsley Ford's truck sale, White Bear Lake.
To the thousands of people in American business who understand that if you don't make dust, you eat dust. We offer the telecommunication services of Mountain Bell, Northwestern Bell, and Pacific Northwest Bell. U.S. West. Nobody knows the trails better.
Coffee?
Most folks know me as a rather thrifty fellow. I nose around for bargains. Now take retirement plans. I found the best deal at Midwest Federal. It's their great Oak Agency Seniors Estate Builder. It's a high-yield whole life insurance plan. Your interest on the premium is tax-deferred, cash values earn high rates, and you're getting protection worth up to 6 times the premium. See the retirement professionals at Midwest Federal for the details.
Have you stopped in at your nearby Champion Auto Store lately? If not, stop in now during our Holiday Gift Ideas sale. Getting the right gift for the special people on your shopping list is important. We care, and we can help. From accessories for your car or truck to toy trucks, you'll find the right gift at the right price. It's our way of showing you that from start to finish, you'll win with Champion Auto Stores.
We heard from Tommy Kramer about returning to the lineup today. Tommy threw his 23rd touchdown pass, although he did not ring up his usual impressive stats. Kramer threw for just 153 yards. Now, this doesn't happen too often. The Vikings actually rushed for more yards than they passed. 157, led by Darren Nelson, 71. Now, the Packers and Vikings got a bit feisty early in the second quarter. Millard was in the middle of it, and there's a surprise, Scott.
Yeah. Well, Keith is... he's a very emotional player, and I think he's been a little bit injured. His shoulder's been bothering him, his knee's been bothering him, and I think it's very frustrating for Keith to not be able to play 100%. But it's hard, and when you get big guys like that shoving and pushing each other, there's always going to be some confrontation.
Here's some of those missed tackles you talked about. Gary Ellis.
Probably 4 or 5 on that play.
Near the 2-minute warning, the Packers' 3rd and goal from the 1. Then Green Bay, after this play here, they stopped them cold. This was really the difference.
Well, I think it gave us some momentum going into the second half. Obviously, they were in a position where they could put some points on the board, get the momentum going into the second half, and we were able to stop them down the goal line. I think you have to give a lot of credit to the up-front people that had a great surge up front and kept them from getting in the end zone and giving Walker Lee and myself a chance to make some plays. And, the success to any goal line or short yards defense is the up-front people, and I think they did a fine job for us.
So instead of going in the locker room tied up at 13, the Vikings still led by 7. And were the Packers keeping it pretty basic there? Was there a lot of guessing going on in that point when you're in the goal line defense, Scott?
Well, I think there's a little bit, but basically we were very basic in our defensive approach. We didn't do any slanting. We didn't do any real strange things as far as the defensive scheme was concerned. We just played our basic short yards and goal line defense. Something we haven't done for quite a while, and it certainly worked out for us today.
On Green Bay's first play of the 3rd quarter, Joey Browner ended up with one of his 2 fumble recoveries. Randy Wright, this is the way it went for the Packers. First play of the 3rd quarter, the pitch, and there's the fumble.
Joey's been coming up with those plays for us all year long, and he's certainly turned into a big play player, and he always has been all throughout his career, and he just continues to do so, and he's really helping us.
Alfred Anderson here, Darren.
Yeah, you see that big hole there. He just walked in. Alfred's been scoring a lot of touchdowns this year. As a matter of fact, the backs on the whole have scored quite a few touchdowns this year.
Greg, Chuck Nelson missed 2 extra points today. What was the problem out there?
Well, I'm not really sure. I was wondering if Chuck was slipping. I think he was trying to be a little bit too careful, trying not to slip, and as a result, not having his natural fluid movement and getting up under the ball, and I think that was it.
Here was the run of the day, Darren. This is a beauty, 25 yards.
You guys think I'm only 187 pounds. Actually, I'm about 240.
You've been fooling us all these years. That set up a Nelson field goal. Another Packer turnover set up the Vikings' final score of the day as Teddy Brown busted in from 12 yards out, and that's a good sight to see.
Yeah, I think this was the same play that I scored, and I was at same drop playing. Ted made a good run. I think Ted has a real nose for the end zone also. I think he's had about 5 or 6 touchdowns, considering that he comes off the bench a lot.
Nice to beat the Packers twice in 1 year. It's been a long time since that's happened.
It's been a great while. I think it's been, what, about 5 or 6 years since we've beaten them, since we swept them?
Yeah, it's been at least that long. You guys mentioned
7.
Yeah, it has been. They had won
I
5.
haven't been around here that long, so.
Did you enjoy playing on enjoy playing on Lambeau Field?
Well, first of all, I had my big Jim Thorpe cleats on there about this long, I think about ½ an inch long. And I loved it, because it brought back fond memories of me playing in college. I played on a soft grass field, and I loved it.
speaking of fond memories, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back to talk about a look at tailgating. You remember that term, don't you? Green Bay style. That's up next on the Vikings Tonight.
Builder Square wants to remind you this Christmas, don't just give half a present. Remember your Rayovac alkaline batteries. Builder Square has the smart 6-pack of C and D size or the 8-pack of AA for only $3.96 after $1 rebate from Rayovac. Rayovac alkaline batteries are top quality, guaranteed against leakage and sealed in steel for longer storage. And at only $3.96 after rebate, you can stock up for all your Christmas giving.
35 million times a year, we lay down our brand on the West's best directory, U.S. West Direct, publisher of the West's best yellow pages.
This week at Best Catalog Stores. Until this time, until this tape, you've never seen color this bold. A breakthrough in videotape technology. Color, as if you were seeing it for the first time. Scotch EXG and EXG Hi-Fi video cassettes. Each on sale now for only $6.97 at Best Catalog Stores.
Grow with us, the good tree to come to, for strength and stability. Save with us, plan with us, we're all you need us to be.
So come talk with us, dream with us, we're growing your way.
And build for tomorrow, today. Midwest Federal. Grow with us.
They're fighting men.
Nothing's impossible.
In the air.
We flew without lights and had to trust our instincts.
On the ground.
I heard it's over a girl.
And in the war. They're Marines living day to day.
What do I have to do?
For the Black Sheep Squadron, tonight on Channel 4.
Were we really in Green Bay today? Well, let's face it, we expected something a bit cooler. Our crack CCO crew brought every kind of cold weather gear known to civilization, but the weather conditions at kickoff were as follows. Clear, winds out of the west at 10 miles per hour, and temperatures at comfortable 32 degrees. It's comfortable for winter, that is. Still, this was the Vikings' coldest game of the year, barring a playoff game out east. There were heaters on the sidelines blasting hot air, trying to keep the players warm. I know, Darren, this is a concern of yours from Monday on. Were you warm enough out there this afternoon?
Saturday night, I said a little prayer. Please, please, don't make it too cold. My prayers were answered.
What did you exactly wear out there extra today?
One thing I had on extra was a pair of gloves. Oh. What else did I have on, Greg? Oh, I had on my tights, too. I forgot about those. I had on some tights.
That's nice.
And I had on a long-sleeve shirt that was cut right here, so it didn't look like I had on a long-sleeve shirt. I wanted to hide that so it looked like I was tough like Scott.
Now, we understood what, 45 guys on the team, 44, perhaps maybe 43. Jim Huff didn't ask for gloves, and you were the other one, right? You've been through enough of these games, right?
Well, yeah. They just don't make them as tough as they used to. You know?
Well, Scott's dead from the neck down.
I can't. The only problem is I can't get gloves over these hands. I had to put on a couple of baseball mitts.
Let's face it, it could have been a lot worse out there today.
It could have been. It really wasn't bad. It was really very nice. As far as I'm concerned, they were ideal conditions. You don't get tired. You don't sweat. It could have been a lot worse.
And it was rather festive out there. Lambeau Field does bring back a lot of memories. Not so much for football, in which the tradition is so rich in Green Bay, but for a tradition that once was very rich in Minnesota, at the old Met, where tailgating became an art form. We thought this brief look at tailgating, Green Bay style, would bring back a few fun thoughts on a cold winter night.
Ready if you're hungry. More steaks. They're hot. Good time. My kisses used to turn you inside out.
was it wild out there. Darren, you never had a chance to play at Met Stadium. You were so excited getting on the, you didn't want to get back on the bus after the game. You were having so much fun out there.
Yeah, I had a good time. I had a couple of those steak sandwiches there, a couple of bratwursts, a couple other things.
Okay. It really did bring back great memories, did it not, Scott? I mean, that is so, I mean, you really miss it when you're out there in that kind of atmosphere.
It really did. You know, I think when we left the Met and we went downtown, you know, football was an event back then. People got to the stadium at 8 o'clock in the morning. They had a great time. They had parties. They were partying there all night. It really was a lot of fun, and we really missed some of that. I think the fans miss it. I think we miss it as players. It really brought back some good memories.
A lot of people are probably still out there right now as we speak, Greg.
Probably, without a doubt. You know, but we can still tailgate here in Minnesota. We go back over to the old Met site, you know, before and after the game and just party and do whatever you want to. But as long as we're going to play football in Minnesota, we come back down to the Dome.
You really like it?
I love it.
Especially we're kicking. I can understand why you didn't exactly have a great kicking average there.
No, to tell you the truth, probably after, you know, the first, second quarter, I mean, I got cold, my back got stiff, and that was it, you know.
We're talking about perfect conditions here.
Inside.
Oh, no, I'm talking about outside.
You guys can say whatever the heck you want to. I don't like it. I mean, that's it. That's cut and dry. I love kicking indoors. I mean, I've made no bones about it. That's why Max and Mike and those guys, that's why they built the Dome. So I could punt indoors.
For you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, listen, don't turn that dial. We'll update you on the Rams-Dallas game and the Vikings' ever-ongoing playoff possibilities, so stick around. We really built the Dome for you?
Exactly. I guess we're going to have to rename it, huh?
No, well, we'll...
It's a special time. The welcomes are warmer. The smiles are brighter. And joy is found in sharing the little things. It's a time of magic, when the true gift is the spirit of giving. When every tree is a Christmas tree. Midwest Federal wishes you all the best for the holidays and throughout the coming year.
After over 40 years in downtown Minneapolis, Morgan Jewelry is going out of business, closing its doors forever. Al Morgan is retiring, and all of the fine jewelry assembled during Morgan's over 40 years in business is to be sold. You can buy and save big on all diamond, ruby, emerald, and sapphire rings, earrings and necklaces, all gold chains, all fine pearls. Buy the finest jewelry from the finest store for prices available only when a store is closing. Morgan Jewelry, open 10 till 6 daily. If you are planning ever to purchase fine jewelry, do it now and save big during Morgan Jewelry's great going out of business sale.
See them at your Northland Ford dealer today.
In 1883, the first Yellow Pages appeared in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Looks like we got every store in town. Every one.
And though we were the only directory in town, we worked to be the best we could be. At U.S. West Direct, we still believe in that tradition. We publish the West's complete Yellow Pages, and we work to stay the best.
You have all those video stores?
Every one.
It's part of our heritage. U.S. West Direct, publisher of the West's best Yellow Pages.
The Vikings are trying to accomplish something they have never done, and that's win their final 4 games. They are halfway home, and a wild card playoff berth is still a strong possibility. The Vikings' 2 remaining games are at Houston next Sunday. That's a 3 o'clock start right here on Channel 4. And then the New Orleans Saints the following week at the Dome. The Saints' playoff hopes were dealt a big blow losing to Miami today. The Vikings need to win their final 2 games and need the 49ers to lose once. The 49ers, who beat the Jets today, play at New England next week and finish up against the Rams. And speaking of the Rams, they were just about to defeat Dallas. That scores 29-10 in the closing minutes. That Dallas loss will give the Vikings the edge over the Cowboys. So the Vikings at least are in control of their own destiny over Dallas if they win those final 2. And certainly one of the most tired cliches in sports is you have to take them 1 game at a time. But in the case of the Vikings, I guess there's no other way to look at it, Scott.
Well, that's true. Obviously, we have to win 2 games to even have a chance. And as we've said all along, I think especially the last 2 or 3 weeks, if we finish 10-6 and make it, great. If we don't, it's going to be extremely disappointing, and we're going to need some help along the way, but we have to concentrate on our business. And right now, our business is Houston, and if we don't beat Houston, then it's over with. So we've got a one-game season right now, and if we don't beat the Oilers, then there's no sense in talking about the playoffs. So that's the most important game of our season right now.
Darren, a lot of times teams will point to playoffs, just making the playoffs as a goal. But if you look at the league and the success the Vikings have had and the close games you've had with the teams that are going to win their divisions, even if Washington ends up with a wild card berth, I have a feeling the Vikings wouldn't be just satisfied to get there. Do you really feel you have a legitimate shot of moving on in the playoffs?
Well, personally, I think a lot of teams are scared to death of us making the playoffs because I think once we get there, I think we're going to do pretty well. I don't know exactly who we're going to play or even if we're going to make it. We're just looking toward Houston right now. But if we do make it, I think we're going to play pretty well.
A satisfying feeling, Greg, just realizing after all those tough losses, the Vikings have been able to rebound to a certain extent here the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think it shows some of the character on this team. You know, we lost some awful tough ball games that really set us back emotionally and physically. You know, we had some key injuries, but now things are starting to come back. We're starting to get some key people back, and we're starting to believe again. You know, we needed the two big games that we had last week in the game today. You know, and Sunday is not going to be a picnic against Houston because they're a team that they don't have a whole lot to lose, and they can just let it go out and let it hang out. But we've got to be careful and play a very good football game.
Well, you'll be happy you'll be able to kick in the dome again next week.
That's true, as long as we win. Quote.
Quote. Okay. You mentioned the Vikings have never won 4 straight to end the year. The #1 goal to accomplish that, of course, then root like hell for New England next week. And actually, it'll be next Sunday afternoon, the Vikings against the Houston Oilers. That's a 3 o'clock start. We'll be live from Twin City International Airport with the full report from their game with the Oilers right here on the Vikings Tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next Sunday night.